AP reporting that Russian missiles have killed 2 people in Poland, according to U.S. intelligence official. The Pentagon is working to corroborate these reports, so we want to tread very carefully here as we work towards confirmation on this story. Obviously, there are a lot of implications potentially here. So the strike is said to have landed in Poland, which is a NATO country, about 3 miles from the Polish-Ukraine border. Now, we saw an enormous barrage earlier today, 85 missiles raining down across Ukraine, flames pouring out of apartment buildings in Kyiv. You can see some of these images that we're showing you right now on the screen as these explosions were felt earlier today, and first responders out everywhere trying to respond to these. You had power knocked out across the country as Russia targeted the key energy infrastructure. Former U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker, joins us in just a moment. First, we go to in-country Kyiv, Greg Palkot, reporting on the ground there. Greg, good afternoon to you. What can you tell us?
Hey, good afternoon, Martha. Yeah, let's get to that breaking news first. It is potentially very significant. Polish governing cabinet, we are told, is now in emergency session. They are not yet confirming the incident which left 2 people dead, along with the Pentagon not confirming it either. But Polish media, local officials are saying it is true that a Russian missile went across the border, hit Poland, killed 2 people. This, as you noted, Martha, raises questions about what possible NATO action this could trigger. As for the strikes here, it was the biggest missile barrage by Russia of the war against Ukraine. It was felt here in Kyiv. We heard the sirens, we heard the explosions. Take a look at what we saw. What happened is a Russian missile was flying over this residential area. It was shot by Ukrainian air defenses. Some fragments hit that building, caused a hole, caused a lot of damage, and then pieces of that missile fell down into the street. You can see it right here being taken away by officials. Now, fire raged from that building, Martha. 1 person killed, 1 person injured. Amazing. We were at the scene that more people weren't killed or injured. The missiles fired by Russia today to Ukraine from a variety of directions. Ukraine says it shot down around 70 of them, but the rest got through, yes, hitting power stations, part of the electric grid. Right now, part of Kyiv is dark, millions without electricity. The president's office here said the Russia missile barrage was all about President Zelensky's video message to the G20 summit today, demanding that Russia withdraw all of its troops from Ukraine and that all of its borders be restored. But Martha, just a little bit more on the breaking news. We have a call into our contacts at NATO. We are awaiting a response. An attack by a nation against a NATO ally could trigger what is called Article 5, and that potentially could trigger a full-scale military response. But there is also a thing called Article 4, where an ally feels it is threatened by a nation, and that comes with it a more moderate response. We'll be watching all that, and I'm sure you'll be digging into that too. Back to you, Martha.
We sure will. Thank you so much, Greg Palkot in Kyiv, where there were missiles raining down across the country earlier today. We want to bring in Kurt Volker, former U.S. ambassador to NATO and former U.S. special representative for Ukraine's negotiations. Ambassador, thank you very much. It's good to have you with us. As we go through this breaking news, we're told that the White House is in touch with officials in Poland. They are working to confirm this. We're also told that Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia, who was at the G20 meetings, has now left the meeting and has been replaced by another official from Russia. What's your initial response to what you've heard so far, Ambassador?
Well, first off, I think that the most likely scenario is that Russia was trying to attack Ukraine, as they do every day, and made a mistake and accidentally fired missiles into Poland. But we need to find this out. We need to do our own investigation, check the trajectories of the missiles, where they were fired from, were they part of a larger barrage going somewhere, get all the facts that we can. Second, we need to actually have an emergency meeting of the North Atlantic Council to hear from Poland, to express solidarity for all NATO allies that face any kind of threat, and to warn Russia that this is unacceptable. And we will not tolerate any attacks on NATO territory, accidental or otherwise, if this happens again. I think we need to find a way not to escalate immediately, to give Russia a chance to say this was a mistake, but also be unequivocal that we will not tolerate attacks on NATO territory.
So there's some indications from Russia that they believe that this is not true, that this is an effort to escalate tensions. What do you say to that?
Nonsense. The Russians just say things. They try to confuse people. They make things up, and we will have the data, and we can confront them with the data. And NATO and Poland should be asking for an immediate and full explanation from Russia as to why this Russian missile landed in Poland.
So we understand that President Duda of Poland has called an urgent meeting of the National Security Council. With regard to Article 5 versus Article 4, you kind of touched on sort of the framework around that a moment ago, but explain for us, if you would, Ambassador.
Yeah. Article 4 of the NATO Treaty is the ability of NATO countries to consult when any member feels that there is a security threat that they're concerned about. And it doesn't imply any specific response by NATO, but it does give an opportunity to show concern, to show solidarity and unity, to hear a briefing, and to consider any further steps. Article 5 is when a country has been attacked, and NATO has made a determination that a country has been attacked deliberately, and then NATO will consult about what measures it would take. There's also no specificity in Article 5 about what the response from NATO should be, but it does imply that there should be some response. Article 4 is really just about consultations, which is, I think, the stage that we're at right now.
So maybe we have this video, but yesterday we had a very moving video of President Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine, in Kherson, standing, saluting a Ukraine flag that was being raised over Kherson after it had been reclaimed from Russian forces who had taken that city over. Obviously, a very important moment for this effort on the part of Ukraine. We remember the bridge that was blown up from Crimea to Russia, also a huge humiliation for Russia. Explain to us the big picture of where you think Putin is as he watches all of this and the impetus for this enormous barrage this morning.
Right. So that I think you put your finger on it, is that this is a Russian response to Ukraine winning militarily on the ground and taking back this major city of Kherson. Russia does not have the ability to hold